right, so ladies and gentlemen, we're looking at the review that you got yesterday. The first 4 problems you all do just sine, cosine, or tangent. So for the first one, I used sine and I got x equals 4.1. For the second one, I used tangent and I got 6.3. For the third one, I used sine and I got 12.8. And for the fourth one, I used tangent and I got 0.8 as my answer. Okay? Yeah, which one would you like to do?
Daniel.
Yeah, I can zoom in. Gentlemen, which one would you like to do, MJ? Second one? Okay, so if we're looking at the second one, what I like to do first is circle the angle and label the 2 sides that I'm given. This is my opposite, this is my adjacent. So I go up here, which one uses opposite and adjacent? Tangent does. So I'm going to go tan of 35 equals opposite x over adjacent 9. And then I got to get rid of that 9, so I have x all by itself on one side. So I go 9 tan 35 equals x, and I end up with x is approximately, because I rounded, 6.3. Any of the others of those first 4 you want to do?
4.
Number 4? Sure. Okay, so here's my angle. What is 3 to that angle? Opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse?
Adjacent.
What is x? Opposite. And so which trig function do I use? Sine, which uses opposite and hypotenuse, cosine, adjacent and hypotenuse, or tangent, opposite. Yeah. So we go tan of the angle, that's where we get 15, and then we put an equal sign, and then we put opposite x over adjacent 3. And then we put 3 tan 15 into our calculator, and we get x equals 0.8. You guys remembering this a little bit?
Yeah.
So yeah, let's look at 3. This is my angle. This is my opposite. This is my hypotenuse. Gentlemen, if we could pay attention, that would be great. So this is a sine. So sine of 70 equals opposite 12 over w. We're looking for w, the hypotenuse. Okay, so this is where we've got that on the bottom. Just remember, if you've got a letter on the bottom, you can just switch it. So you put 12 sine 70 in your calculator, and you get 12.8 as your answer. 12 divided by sine 70. And that gives us 12.8. 12.8 is our answer. Questions about that? Okay. Let's go over the next 4, the law of sines and cosines. I'm going to put up the answers again. We'll go over them, and the ones that you want to do, we'll do. Okay. Number 5, I get 88. Number 5, I get 88. Number 6, I get 10.4. 10.4. Number 7, I get 8.5. 8.5. And number 8, I get 32 degrees. 32 degrees. Is there any of these that you guys want to go over? 5. Okay, let's start with 5. Now, I'm looking for an angle. Okay? Now, this doesn't have labels A, B, and C, so I'm going to have to label it myself. I'm going to call this A, this little a. So I'm going to call this B, this C, so this is little b and little c. Okay, so I'm looking for angle A. So I know I'm going to use this equation right here. A equals cosine -1. A squared minus B squared minus C squared all over -2BC. So then I'm going to plug it in. I'm going to say A equals cosine -1. And I'm going to say 12 squared minus 7 squared minus 10 squared all over -2 times 7 times 10. And I put that in my calculator, and I get x equals 88 degrees. Okay? What about 6, 7, or 8? Anybody want to do any of those? Want to do 6? Okay, when we're looking at 6, everybody's got 5 down, so I can move it over? Okay, we're looking at 6. I want to find this side. So I know I need this side and this angle and this side and this angle. That makes my life a lot easier. I can just use law of sines. So I'm going to go sine of 85 over x equals sine of 35 over 6. Okay? You're just going to put the sine of the angle over the number across from it, sine of the angle over the number across from it. And then I cross multiply and I get 6 sine 85 equals x sine 35. Then I divide both sides by sine of 35. And right here, this is what I put in my calculator. 6 sine 85 divided by sine 35, and I get x equals 10.4. Okay. Any of these others on this front? 7 or 8? You want me to do we want to just do all 4? I mean, it was not the best quiz when I did the law of sines quiz with you guys, so. Okay. So we're looking right here. We want to find this side. We have the 2 other sides, and we have the angle across from it. In this case, I would use law of cosines. I'm going to name this A, this little a, B, little b, C, little c. And I'm just going to use the law of cosines. So I'm just going to say A squared equals B squared minus C squared minus 2 cosine A. Okay? So I go A squared equals 15 squared minus 8 squared minus 2 times 15 times 8 cosine 25. I put this in my calculator and I get A squared equals 71.486. And what do I have to do before I'm done? Square root, the thing that everybody always forgets. So A equals 8.5 approximately.
Could you do sine too?
This one I wouldn't do sine because I only have one angle. When we're doing sine, we really, unless we're finding an angle, we really need 2 angles. Okay, let's do 8. Now, in this case, I am looking for, it doesn't say on here if this was a typo, you're looking for this angle right here, guys. So if you couldn't do 8, I understand. It should have been labeled better. So I'm looking for this angle. So I've got the side across from it. I got the side across from it. So we can use sine if we're finding an angle and we have the other angle. Okay? So we're going to go sine 53 over 27 equals sine x over 18. So we get 18 sine 53 equals 27 sine x. Can you guys see that? No. Okay. We're going to divide by 27. And then we're going to take the inverse sine of this whole thing. You can put it in your calculator first. Or not. Whatever. So x equals 32 degrees in this case. The only thing that's different between the signs is when you're looking for an angle, you've got to use that inverse sign at some point to get your answer. Okay, let's turn to the next page. I'm going to go over the answer to this page, and then we'll do the problems that you guys want to do. I think we did 10, yeah. Okay, so we're looking right here at number 9. My equation ends up being y equals 25 sine pi over 190x plus 275. Okay? And then number 10 we did, but just in case you weren't here, I'm going to zoom this out just a little bit so we can see the whole thing. The max is 3,500, min is 1,500, amplitude is 1,000. The period is 12, repeats every 12. The vertical shift is 2,500, and went up 2,500. My domain is between 0 and 27. My range is between 1,500 and 3,500. And so my overall equation is 1,000 cosine pi over 6x plus 2,500. Okay, any of these you want to do, 9 or 10? 9. Okay, let's look at 9. So there's a bunch of parts I figured out for 9. Okay, so remember, when we're looking at this, what does this look like? Does this look like sine or cosine? Look at where it starts.
It's cosine.
Look at where it starts. Sine.
Oh, it's starting at 0.
Remember, cosine will start right, see where this top, it'll start at the highest point, yep. So we're going to use y equals a sine bx plus c. Remember, A is your amplitude, how high it goes from the midpoint. B is the period. And C is the shift. Okay, so first thing I have to figure out is like where my middle is. Now you can do this one of two ways. Right here, it's kind of showing where the middle is going to be. But if you're like, I'm not sure exactly where that is, you could always take the biggest number minus the smallest number divided by 2. So you can take 300 minus 250, divide by 2, and we're going to get A equals 25. Okay? So that's my amplitude right there is 25. So from here to here, right here, that's down the middle. That distance right there is 25. So that's my A. Now, to find our B, we know that this repeats, you know, it starts repeating right about there. So we're like, okay, that's approximately how much?
350.
So
Going by 50.
I think it's 380 because I think 300's right in the middle and 350 would be right there and it's a little bit to the edge. But if you put, yours is just going to look a little bit different if you put that, but I wouldn't count it as wrong. So we're going to go 2 pi over x is going to equal 380. Okay? So I've got to figure out what x is when I divide it. It gives me this. So I'm going to cross multiply. 2 pi equals 380x. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 380. Okay? And 2 divided by 380 gives me 1 over, so b equals 1 over pi over 190. Okay, vertical shift, how much did I move up? That looks like 275 to me. And so I can put everything now into the equation. Y equals 25 sine pi over 190. Make sure you put the x there, plus 275. Where did I get the 190 from?
No, is it 140 or 190?
190. That's a 9. Sorry.
I'm gonna bet. Oh my.
Okay, let's look at 11 and 12. Okay, first of all, the end of C is just what might change the beaver population. Season, food, predators, climate change. Okay? Number 11, it says what sine function has translated down 9 units, has a period of 7 and an amplitude of 6. I get y equals 6 sine 2 pi over 7 x minus 9. Okay? The big thing that you have to remember, it tells you everything else. Just remember that it's 2 pi over b is always your period. Okay? Number 12, it is a sine function because it doesn't start at the highest point. The amplitude I got was 15. The period was 12 months. Vertical shift, it started up here, like the lowest point up here I got was 46. If you put 47, I would have counted that too. So I get y equals sine pi over 6x plus 46. Gentlemen, shh. What month has an average daily temperature most like April? I have October. And then when you revert your stuff, you switch where they all go. I ended up with this. I don't think the directions were very clear because it says, you know, fall and spring are reversed, as are winter and summer. I didn't necessarily read that part when I first did it, so winter and summer have to be switched too. So that's why the graph looks like a bowl shape instead of like a hill. So it's literally you're just putting it down. For January, I put, let's see. I put June, you know, and so on. February, I put August. Oh, for January, I put July. February is August. You know, March is October, and so on. March is September, that kind of thing.
How did you get the amplitude of 15?
How did I get the amplitude being 15? Okay, let's see. I took the bottom, which was 46, over the top is 76, so I went 76 minus 46 divided by 2. That gives me my amplitude. If you ever want to find, yeah, that's you take the max minus the min divided by 2, gives you the amplitude. Any other questions on this? Okay, so your test tomorrow looks very similar to this. I've just changed numbers around. Okay? So if you can do this review, you can do the test. But this test, all tests are worth 100 points, okay? So this is going to make an impact in your grade. Hmm? There's going to be 12 just like this. Okay. If there's going to be 12, but remember, like 12 here has 4 parts. So don't let that confuse you.